So why don't you just start off telling us where we are and where Imagine That is located?
Right. Imagine That is an artist-run cooperative which features work handmade and locally crafted. We're downtown Duncan. We're on Craig Street, right across from City Hall. And that's who we are and where we are.
So what can you tell us about Imagine That's history? How did you guys get started, and how did you get from where you were when you got started to where you are today?
We started in 1994. So this is our 31st year as a cooperative. It started with a group of women, I think there were 6 or 7 of them, who were crafters or artists in the Cowichan Valley, who were frankly tired of taking their work out every weekend to a farmer's market, or maybe in the wintertime to a craft fair at a local church hall. It's exhausting hauling your goods around, and your sales are never really guaranteed, so it's a lot of risk taking. And they thought that if they banded together and got some funding perhaps, or at least worked together on the idea, they could find a venue in downtown Duncan that they could become part of full-time, year-round. And that's exactly what happened. Those ladies opted not to take any funding from the outside, from the government, but they pooled together their own resources and established, by following the rules for the BC government, established themselves as a cooperative and found a place that was reasonable to rent in downtown Duncan, which was just a couple of doors away from where we are right now on Craig Street. And they started in 1994, and their first sale was like $2, and they recorded it, and we still have that $2 bill framed. And that's how things began. Now, over time, 31 years, a lot of things can happen. Artists come and go. We still do have one artist with us that was here from the very beginning. She happens to make the lovely silk scarves that you can see behind you. But the makeup of the board of directors and the membership has changed a lot in 31 years. But it's always been a focus on locally made, handmade work.
So what can you tell us about the kind of the cooperative structure and why that model was chosen?
I believe that the artists who founded the organization really wanted to be hands-on, really wanted to participate in the running of the business, because that's what they'd each been doing individually for their own businesses, and they were used to it, and they liked to work together. They liked each other. They thought they could work well together. That's not always the case, but in this case it was true. And there are rules and regulations from the BC government about how a cooperative should work, and they tried to follow those rules as best they could, and we've done that ever since. And I think from my perspective as a participant, it gives me a lot more say-so in how things are done. I don't have to be a board member to do that, but I can be a member who participates and works in the shop to help formulate our policies and to help ensure that we're meeting those rules and regulations, and that we're selling work for our artists, and that we're making our customers happy.
So what can you tell me about the sorts of artists that you have here as part of the co-op, the kinds of work that they do, just a bit of a general overview as to, who the membership is.
Right. At the moment, we have just at 60 artists who are participating in the shop, and it's a tight fit some days. We have all kinds of genres. We have lots of pottery, we have lots of woodwork because there's so many beautiful trees for the artists to work with. We have jewelry made in all different kinds of metals and non-metals. We have painting, we have photography, we have glass work. We have people who make mosaics out of pieces of glass, who make stained glass. We have quite a lot to choose from, and it seems to satisfy the people who come into the shop because they're always finding something interesting or new or they've really fallen in love with somebody and they want to find their latest work.
What is it about the Cowichan Valley that you think attracts so many artists and artisans? And, why is it possible to do something like Imagine That here in the Cowichan Valley and perhaps not in other places?
I think there's so much inspiration in every square foot of the Cowichan Valley. And whether you like a river or a lake or a mountain or a grove of trees or a seashore, there's everything that can possibly stimulate your imagination here. And I was drawn here in part because of what I observed. I came out for the first time to house sit for friends of mine, and I learned what life was like in both summer and winter because I house sat a couple of times, and I was blown away by the environment. It's easy on your body because the temperature is relatively nice most of the year. It's easy on the eyes, it's easy on the ears. It's just a very relaxing place to be. And there are other things that you can do to help support yourself while you're pursuing the things that inspire you, because none of us really make a true living at this. It's our paid hobby, if you will.
So what are some of your personal favorite aspects of living here in the Cowichan Valley? What sort of inspires you? What do you like to get out and do? That kind of stuff.
I kind of live off the beaten path. I'm out in Lake Cowichan, so it isn't very citified. It's still actually a logging community. But what I love about living here is that there's a blurred line between something that might be urban and something that is suburban or rural. I live where I can actually hear roosters crowing. Every once in a while, friends of mine in Shawnigan Lake can hear a donkey braying, and they live in town. I love the fact that inches away from your house, there might be a horse in a pasture, or cows, or sheep. And I grew up small town in the Midwest in the States, and that feels like home to me, to have that blending of the environments into something that's very relaxed. So I'm not a city person at all. I'm a country girl, so this suits me just fine.
So what are your sort of hopes and aspirations for Imagine That in the future? How would you like to see this cooperative continue to grow and develop?
It is a reality that a lot of our members and a lot of our customers are senior citizens. Like me, they have gray hair. And we hope that they are educating, encouraging their children and their grandchildren to shop locally and shop handmade. And we can see the evidence of that slowly but surely as younger people come into the shop. So that's one of our goals, twofold, that we have more people that are actually members of the co-op that are younger, and that our customers are also younger, because otherwise we'll run out of customers and artists. The tough part for artists is when you're retired, like so many of us are, we are not depending on this as our income. And hopefully we've reached a fairly comfortable place in our lives where we don't have to work 3 jobs to make ends meet. But for the younger artists, that's not true. The younger artists are striving, along with at least one full-time job and children to look after. They're trying to be creative, and that's tough. So that's a hope and aspiration for the future, is that we're still here in another 30 years.
Amazing.